Hi, welcome to Remote Collaboration in Unreal Engine. I'm Tom Shannon. I'm a tech artist here at Epic Games on the education team. I've worked in visualization and games for about 20 years and probably a little more than 10 years now using Unreal, both 3 and 4. So today we're going to be really talking about working remotely in Unreal Engine. And this is obviously a really topical topic, timely topic, because we are all working remotely this year for the Global Game Jam 2021. So this topic is usually pretty important, but with us all working remotely, it's extremely important. So we're going to cover two things today. We're going to cover source control, and we're going to cover source control from a high level, understanding what source control is, and then we'll look at how it's used directly in Unreal. And then we'll also look at level streaming. And level streaming is a Unreal Engine specific technique that allows us to split levels up and stream them in and out of memory, both at runtime and in the editor. And so these two tools will let us work remotely and collaboratively. So let's ask the first question, what is source control? So source control is any sort of system that manages how files are modified and change over time. You might also hear source control called revision control or version control. And source control has its roots in the software development community, where developers and programmers have worked together for years on very large projects with thousands of files. And this workflow has been adopted by game developers and us here at Epic as well. And we call it source control. So source control can either be a formal or an informal process. We probably all have done some informal source control in our lives. It can be as simple as saving stuff in a network drive where everyone can access it, or naming our files with a naming convention of _01, 02, some sort of iterative thing, possibly _recover when things go bad. And that's kind of an informal way of versioning files. You end up with folders with lots and lots of files, and you often overwrite old versions of files with new versions. Now, the next step up from there would be something like Box or OneDrive. And in that situation, or using one of those tools, you'll get a lot of the same benefits of regular source control. You'll be able to track changes and sometimes revert changes, and all the members of your team will get a local copy of the project, and everyone can work kind of at the same time. Now, there's some issues with it, especially when two people modify the same file at the same time. You can often end up with conflicts, and one person's work will clobber the other person's work, and that's not great. There can also be some issues with just file security in general. So using Box or OneDrive or something like that, some cloud drive solution, works better than nothing, and certainly is going to work better than the traditional sneakernet this year, because you can't really as easily pass a flash drive back and forth. So the best option is a formal system like Subversion, or we'll call it SVN, Perforce, or Git. And these are actual software packages that manage the process of versioning and tracking and serving files. So now that we've taken a look at kind of what source control is, it can be kind of difficult to understand exactly what's going on. So let's take a look at an example of a source control workflow on a team. So let's meet our team. So we've got developer A. Developer A is very good at drawing the petals of flowers, so we've hired them. Developer B over here has never seen a flower in bloom, but they are excellent at drawing stems and leaves. So together, our developer A and developer B are a powerhouse team that makes the very best flower drawings you've ever seen. And of course, they've got a boss. Used to be a developer, but now they're just the burger boss. And so this is our team. And so for our team to work together, we need another member of our team, the server. And in this case, it's hosted on the cloud. And this is important because developer A, developer B, and the boss all live and work in very different parts of the world. So the server needs to be in a place where they can all access it. So in this case, and for our work today, our server will be on a cloud-based server. Now, I want to say if you are already a server admin or someone on your team has a server that everyone can access and you can all work together, you can load versioning software directly on that server yourself. So you can either get a cloud server, or host it yourself, depending on your expertise. In this talk, I will be using a server hosted on Amazon so that everyone on the team can access it. All right, so this is our team. So our team needs to get started. Developer A comes into work and bangs out flower.psd and hits save, and the file is born. Now developer A is happy with their flower and they want to send it up to the server. So what they have to do is they have to add it to the server, tell the server, I want to version this file. And then they submit the file. And submitting is a really important step. And we will see it a couple more times during this talk. Submitting is when you actually upload your changes to the server for the rest of your team to access. And when you do this, you create a version of that file. So now developer A has a copy of flower.psd on their hard drive, their local workspace, and it's version 1. And there's also a version of that file up on the server. Now enter developer B. Developer B comes in, and to access the file, they update their local copy. And so now developer A and developer B and the server all have the exact same copy of the file, version 1 of flower.psd. Everyone's on the same page. We all have the same file. So now let's look at modifying files. Developer B needs to take flower.psd and add the stem and leaf. So what they do is they check out the file. And the reason they do this is to ensure that nobody else on the team will modify the file while they are modifying the file. And this is an important advantage to source control. This ensures, or at least helps mitigate, one of the main issues that you'll have working together in large projects is ensuring that no one's working on the same file at the same time. By checking out and locking files, you can communicate with each other in kind of an informal way, and your team knows what everyone's working on. So now, developer B goes ahead and adds in their amazing stem and leaves. I told you this was a powerhouse team. And now they save their file locally. And this is important to note that our developers are working on their local hard drives. And when they save, they can save and continuously modify this file. And as they do, they are not sending any data to the server. the other developer and the server are not really aware of the state of the file. Not until developer B checks the file in and submits it to the server. At that point, now the server creates a new version, appropriately called version 2, and it lets the other members of the team know that if they've got version 1 or an older version, that their version is out of date. So if they try to modify it or save it, they will be informed that they need to update their file because they're not working on the latest. So developer A simply has to update their local copy, and it will overwrite their local version 1 with version 2 of flower.psd. And of course, other members of the team at any point can download the latest version of all the files. In this case, the bosses downloaded the file and checked it out, and everyone's happy and on the same page. So this workflow is really indicative of the overall workflow that you do. You create files and you check them into the server. Other members of the team download those files, modify them, check them in, and the rest of the team downloads them. Now, it's important to note that none of this happens automatically. You as the user have to initiate each of these steps. And this is also really important, and a big advantage of source control is that you don't have to worry about some automated system overwriting your files or uploading files that you didn't intend to upload yet, as you might have with Box, OneDrive, or a network share. All right. So this is my desktop here, and what I have is a game that I've been working on, an Unreal Engine project here. You can see it's got some source code and our content and everything. I've worked on it for a little bit, and I'm ready to put it up on the server and share it with my team. Now, the server I've set up is a Perforce server hosted on an Amazon AWS instance. And it's important to note that both the Amazon AWS instance and the version of Perforce I'm using are totally free. The Amazon AWS instance is free for a year, and the Perforce license is free for up to 5 users. So this is perfect for a game jam. So once the server is set up, I go ahead and put the IP address in here, and I've already created my user. So the thing I need to do now is create a workspace. And a workspace is the local folder where you are going to store your files. So where on your computer are you going to work from? So I'm going to go ahead and create a new workspace, and I will call it like Tom Shannon laptop. And then it's going to ask, where is the root? Where on our hard drive do we want to save all these files? Well, I already am working on See My Games, Game Jam game. So I'm going to go ahead and I want See My Games to be the root. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy paste that there. So now we will work in here. And now when I click OK, it's going to say, hey, wait a minute, this folder's not empty. Are you sure you want to do this? And this is a good warning, because if you're not sure, you might end up overwriting some of the files that are in there. But in our case, this is exactly what we want to do. So I'm going to say, no, I don't. And now we're ready to go. I'll click OK, and we'll connect to the server. So we're connected to the server, and you can see that here we have 2 tabs. We have our workspace, which is our local hard drive here, and our depot, which is the server, which currently has no files. So let's go ahead and add our game up onto the server. And the easiest way to do that is in our interface here. Find our game and open up the folder. Now it may be tempting to go ahead and put the entire folder and all the files in there. And it kind of works, but it's not the best way to go about it. It's important to know that several of these folders in your project are generated locally and should typically not be versioned. So typically speaking, the only things that you want to version are your U project, your source code, your content, your configuration, and optionally your binaries. If you have everyone on your team is comfortable compiling code, you may not want to include your binaries. But in my case, I know that other members of my team are not terribly comfortable. So I'm going to include modules, DLL, and target. They don't need the .pdb because they will not be doing any debugging. So this is everything that you need to include. Really, the most important thing to know is to never include derived data cache, intermediate, or saved, as these generate lots of files that change all the time and should not be versioned. So now, with our files selected that we want to version, we have to add them. Right up here, we mark for add. And what this does is it adds them to a change list, a list that tells us all about these different files. And so at this point, they are still not up on the server. As you can see, there's nothing there. Once they are added, they are simply added to a list. We then need to submit that list. And the easiest way is to select the root of your game and click submit. And now when you do, we get our first submission. We will be creating the first version of all of these files that are in our project. And we need to give it a description. Added game jam demo to server. And we hit submit. And depending on your network connection, this can take a little while. Luckily, we have a fairly small project to work with today. Almost there. All right. We have now uploaded all of those files to our server. And now we can click on this depot tab and see there they are. So now anyone else on our team can grab these files and start working with them. So let's go ahead and take a look at someone else on our team. Here we've got Burger Boss's desktop. So here you can see we've got our connection to our server and our user. In this case, we're going to make yet another new workspace. We'll call this Burger Boss Office. And again, we'll want to put our root someplace that we know where, and so we're going to put that on C Burger Boss. Burger Boss likes his own name a lot. And we'll hit OK. We'll hit OK. So now you can see kind of the opposite of our first user. Here Burger Boss has no local files, but when we go to the depot, we can see the game jam. So Burger Boss needs to get a copy of Game Jam game. And to do that, it's real easy. They just click on the folder and say get latest. And you'll see right away over in our file browser, the project begins to populate. There we go. And now you can see we have the same project on both sides. All right, let's head back to our first desktop here, and let's go ahead and open up our game. All right, let's head over to Burger Boss and set them up too. Here we are on Burger Boss's screen. Come up to source control, we'll connect, choose Perforce. We need to put in the server address, etc. Come grab that here real quick. Just copy paste from here. And our user is, of course, Burger Boss. Check for our workspace, and we're good to go. We're all connected. All right, awesome. So our two users have their copy of the project. They're connected in Perforce. And you can see that they have the exact same level that they're working on. So let's go ahead and see what happens when we modify something in our project. So in this level, there are these targets that you need to hit, and this one is just too far back. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this and move it forward. And what you'll see is over in the corner, we get a warning that says, hey, this file needs to be checked out. We can click here and we can check this out right now. Check it out. And so it has already automatically checked this file out, and we can find our file here. We can come to Maps, and we can see immediately we've got some new icons here. We've got a little star asterisk that means that our file is unsaved, but we also have a check here, and that tells us that we have checked this file out from the server. Let's go ahead and see what that looks like on Burger Boss's screen. So if we come over to our UFO game and go to Maps, we can see here that it informs us that this map is checked out. And so if we tried to make any changes to this map, it would tell us you really can't because someone else has checked this out. So let's go back and let's go ahead and save these changes. We'll go ahead and put this up here. Yeah, I think that's a good spot. Great. Now go ahead and save all. And now we've saved everything. And now I want to send this back to the server. I want to submit this. And I could go back to Perforce and I could submit it from here. In fact, it should be showing. We simply have to refresh, and we can see here that there have been changes made and this level is checked out. So I could submit this change from here and everything would work. But it's a lot easier just to stay in the editor. We can submit our changes right here. We just go to source control and we submit. And Unreal will check for files that you need to submit. And here we say, moved the rear target forward. And after a couple of seconds, it will upload these files to the server for us and let us know that we've submitted our change list. Great. You can see our check went away and we're ready on Burger Boss's side to see what changes were made. So what we can do is we can simply click on Maps and right click, and you can see down here we have source control, and we can actually sync our maps directly here. And you will see that it updated our map and even reopened it. And now you can see we have the exact same copy. And so by checking out, submitting, and updating, our team stays on the same page and we're working on the same files. And we can be sure that we won't be working on the same files at the same time and having to override each other's work. So let's take another example real quick to see what happens when we create something new. So I'm going to go ahead and open up let's go and open our main menu map. Here's our main menu. And in here, we're going to go ahead and create a new blueprint class. We'll call this actor. Call this BP my actor class. And there we go. And you can see when we created this file, we have a question mark here. And that means that this file exists but has not been added to a change list. And so it's not versioned, it's not on the server. So what we have to do to add it to the server is very simple. We just go ahead and save it. So I click Save All, we'll save selected, and you'll see that will change to a plus. So Perforce, or Unreal, has added this file to the server. It has done that work that we did before by clicking the Add button. So we don't have to submit this right away. We can continue to work on our actor class here. We can go ahead and let's go ahead and add a point light to it, and we'll make the point light really red. Great. And we'll compile and save that. And we can go ahead and save. Close. So you can see I can continue to work on this asset. I can drag this into my level. And you can see that when I do, it lets me know that I need to check out the level. And quite honestly, I could ignore it and I can put some more of these in the level if I want. What will happen though is when I hit Save All, it will ask me if I want to save my map. But before I can save it, I have to check it out. So Unreal will prevent you from saving files that you haven't checked out. And so now I have checked out the map, and I've added this actor class. And so now to submit this new actor class and the changes to my map, just like before, source control, submit to source control, and we will say added BP and placed in main menu map, and submit. And usually you'll get a little something that confirms it. In this case, we didn't get one, or I didn't see it. But our icons have disappeared and everything's ready to go. So once again, let's go look on our other teammates' screen, and we can see here we don't have any of that stuff. So again, we're just going to right click and say sync. And it will sync all the assets to the latest version, which includes adding any assets that were created. So there's our blueprint. And if we go to our main menu map, we can see that blueprint's been added in. And so this is the basic workflow for source control in Unreal Engine. I will advise, I won't give too much advice in this talk, but one bit of advice I will give you is that before you start working on your project each day, rather than syncing it from within the editor, which of course has some overhead, I would highly recommend before you get started, just simply click on your game and get latest before you get started. I'll also give you another tip here, is that from right within the Perforce window here, you can launch your game project. So this is just the exact same files that are here. And if you double click, it will launch your game project, the same as if you double clicked here. So I very much often start my day by getting latest, and then once it's done, opening the project and getting to work. And that's really what you need to know to get started using source control in Unreal Engine. All right, let's talk about the other topic, which is what we call level streaming. So level streaming is a system in Unreal Engine that we developed to help us deal with the limitations of very low memory on older consoles. So we had a problem where we wanted to show these huge game worlds with really high fidelity and high detail, but the hardware of the time just was very limited. So we came up with this solution called level streaming that allowed us to load and unload entire levels at runtime and in the editor. Now, we use this a lot for its intended purpose, but we've also discovered some other really useful use cases for it. Primarily, we can use it to split up levels so that we can enable teamwork. One of the big issues in Unreal Engine with teamwork is that levels are single large files. And as we've seen with source control, only one person can work on a file at a time. And that means that if our levels are just one big file, only one person can work on it. So we can use this system to split up the files so that multiple people can work on it. In fact, here you can see it being used in the Boy and His Kite demo. You can see that there are levels within levels, and artists and programmers could hide and unhide these levels to allow this massive terrain to not only run at runtime, but for a team of artists and developers to work on it at the same time. So let's go ahead and see how we set that up in Unreal. All right, here we are back in our UFO game here. And here is our level, and our level is fairly simple. But on our team, we have a level designer, and we've got a really great visual effects and lighting artist. And we'd like them to be able to work on this level at the same time. We'd like one person to be able to place the gameplay elements, such as these targets, and another person to be able to place things like lights and visual effects into a different level. So let's go ahead and see how we do that. Our first step is to go up to Window here and open up the Levels palette. This gives us access to the streaming level system. So what we can do here is we can add levels that exist, and we can control their visibility states in this window. So I'm going to go ahead and dock this window right over here. Right there we go. Give it a little more room. And you can see we have something here called the persistent level. And the persistent level is the level that you opened up. And that just means that when you load this level, the content within this persistent level will always load. Now what I want to do is I want to take these dust particles that we have, and I want to move them to another level so that our visual effects artist, say Burger Boss, can work on them while I work on placing more gameplay elements. So to do that, I simply select the dust particles, come over to levels here, and I can create new with selected actors. You can see I can also just create a blank new level or add an existing level, but we're going to use this one as a shortcut. And you can see that it comes up and it asks us to save the map, because this will actually save an entire level just like these. So I'm going to make a new folder. We'll call this streaming. And in streaming, we will call this map UFO level 1 VFX. Why not? So you can see that we've created the map, we've modified our map, and over in our levels here, we now have this new map, and I can really quickly hide and unhide those actors. So this means we now have 2 levels that 2 different people can work on at the same time. Now we're not quite done setting this up yet. If I pressed play right now, none of these actors would show up. And that's because by default, streaming levels require blueprints or code to stream them in and out. And this is because, like I said, their original purpose was for gameplay. Well, when we're using levels just to split them up for development purpose, we don't want to have to make sure that we're building blueprints to load and manage these levels. So what we can do is we can just right click on our level, and then we can change our streaming method from blueprint to always loaded. And you'll see that when we do, that little blue dot disappears. And now we don't have to add code in to make this level appear when we play our game. So now I can go ahead and file, save all, and we'll go through our checkout processes, etc. And we will submit to source control. And we will say split VFX to sub. And there we go. Now let's go check out good old Burger Boss. We'll go ahead and sync here. Let's see, we got some new stuff. Now we'll go to maps. Sure enough, if we go to level 1 map, and we also need to go to window levels, and here we go. So let's go ahead and dock this. And now I'm the VFX artist, so I want to go ahead and make some changes, and I'm a VFX artist, so I'm going to mostly add more VFX to this. But the first thing I need to do is make sure that I'm working on this level. If I were to add anything right now to this level, it would add it to the persistent level, and I can tell that because it's blue. And all I have to do is double click on my level to make it the active level. And you'll see that down here, as we change our active level, we can see it right here. So this is very helpful for you to be able to tell what's in your level, or to tell which level that you're working on. All right, so now we can obviously make some changes here. And when we get the checkout, it's going to tell us that we need to check out both maps. Now, let's go ahead and do that. And great. And we'll go ahead and let's just, copy these and add some more. Why not? Great. Now let's go ahead and save all. Go ahead and go to source control, submit to source control, and added more verticals. Ooh, caps lock came on. And it's just as simple as that. Now, anytime you open this level, it will open this other level. And of course, you could split out even more content for more people to work at the same time. And that's a really quick overview of using level streaming to split your levels up to enable you to work a little better on the same project with your teammates. I want to thank you for joining me for this talk. I hope this helps get you kick-started, helps give you an idea of how to use source control, why to use source control, and gives you a good overview of using it in the engine. I really strongly believe that this can give you a really important advantage on this game jam and your work moving forward. So good luck, everybody. I can't wait to play all of your awesome projects. Bye for now.